Hey, Rebecca here, coming with your weekly training, talking about being solid in your identity so you can do life on purpose and fulfill that God-given destiny. That's what we are all about here, identity, purpose, and destiny. Today, I want to talk to you about a really fun topic. I know that I just had a whole month of fun in my postings, but this month I also want to integrate a little bit of fun. What I want to talk to you about today is adventure. We all need adventure. It's like one of the basic needs of life. In fact, if you look at the 6 human needs that's put out by Tony Robbins, number 2 is uncertainty, variety. We have got a true need for the unknown, for change, for new stimuli. Otherwise, we live that mediocre life. Mediocre life is such the enemy to us high-powered Christians that are out to impact the world around us. Let's talk a little bit about adventure. Adventure is an exciting or unusual experience, a bold, usually very risky undertaking. Hazardous action of a certain uncertain outcome is the dictionary definition. It kind of brought me to Psalm 115:16. It says, "The heavens belong to our God, and they are his alone, but he has given us the earth and put us in charge." God gave us the earth, and he gave it all for our enjoyment. If you look in the Garden of Eden, and that's where God had it the way he wanted it, we were given dominion, we were given rule and reign, but we walked with God in the cool of the night. And we had fun and we had adventure, and that is what God wants for us. Listen, when is the last time you just stopped for a minute to smell the roses? Or just stopped in the middle of what you're doing to get into a place of gratitude? Or just stopped to think about the God kisses throughout the day. God kisses, when I say God kisses, those are those things that God puts just in your way to bless you. You know, somebody out of the blue sends you flowers. Or you are this weekend we were on a hiking trail and we just happened to find some morel mushrooms, and it just felt like such a blessing from God because nobody else seems to be finding them. When's the last time you just threw caution to the wind and did something adventurous? Today, I just want to propose to you that you're more than likely not allowing yourself to have enough fun, and God created you for adventure. Our culture today is locked in the bondage of striving. In fact, I am a huge example of that. I really had to take a look at my life and what I was doing and how I was proceeding through it. And I realized that I was just always working. And fun seemed like a something I'll get to eventually if and when I have time. Work comes first, fun comes later. And I found myself depleted. I found myself on a kind of a burnout, kind of a workaholic mindset. And because here's the thing, when you're waiting till all your work is done, you'll find that there is always more work to do. And you will deprioritize having adventure, even though that's one of the basic needs that you have. But see, what if we didn't have adventurers, pioneers, risk takers? Then where would we be? I mean, somebody had to take the first walk on a hiking trail that's now all marked with clear signs and markings, right? Where would we be without the trailblazers, the people who create the trails, not just walk on them? And who in the world said that life would be something for us to endure and persevere just till we get to be in the sweet by and by with Jesus? Who said we can't enjoy life right now? I mean, that's a funny line anyways. I mean, go to be with Jesus. Like, what does that actually mean? Because we can't be with him right now? He's not here with us right now? I think not. Listen, for me, I have found that I actually need, not want, but I need adventure in my life. And there's something that simply brings life when there's uncertainty and adventure. I want to talk to you about this hiking experience I had. It was so fun. You see, I call it the playland for big people. You know, back in the day when I had littler kids, I would bring them to McDonald's and we'd go in the playland and we'd have fun, and they would put their shoes into the shoe cubby and they'd climb up into the tubes and they'd slide down the slides and things like that. Well, there's this really cool place I went to that had these muddy paths, and it was outdoors and it was a hiking trail kind of, but it was this amazing place for adventure. They even had, it was kind of funny, some of the rock walls had like shelves that I could like stick my shoes while I go get in a waterfall or jump in the puddles or have fun. It was great. It was a really cool place, and there's something about always being around concrete and house and wood that kind of just distracts, but it's getting in that raw, like grounded place that can be so much fun. So I learned a couple of lessons this day just by walking with God through this really fun, what I call playland for adults, even with the shoe cubbies. I remember I walked for quite a while with some climbing, some stairs, some jumping rock to rock for a very long time, and I felt God speaking to my heart. He said this: see, it's not about how far you go or how many miles you have walked, but rather how you've embraced the adventure along the way. You know, sometimes because I battle the workaholism, I'll get on a trail and I'll be huffing it and I'll be like, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. And I forget to even enjoy the trail along the way. And God's like, it's not about how far you go. It's how you are doing and how you embrace the journey to get there. Isn't that like life, huh? It's not about how big your business is or how far you've accelerated in your job or what you do for a living. It's literally how are you going to walk through life, treat it as an adventure. See, I'm a coach. Y'all know that. I'm a coach. I'm also an ordained minister. And when I work with people, this is my perspective. And this is how I know that I am in my dream job right now. I can work all day, but the second I meet with a person, the second I sit down with my client, it is an amazing, like almost Narnia-like door to adventure. And I get to explore this amazing human being in front of me who is created by God for a purpose. And it's all for me. It's about discovery. I get to find the gold inside of them. I get to look at what God has placed in them that can be drawn forward. Oh, I love that. Every bit of it is an adventure. Now, if I got caught up in the work of it or how much money I can make or anything that's a distraction like that, it's not about how much money I make. It's not about how big my business grows. It's about how do I view each adventure on a daily basis. So, after the Lord said that to me, I remember literally falling and literally getting stuck in some mud like quicksand. See, it had rained, it was wet in there, and it was like, oh my goodness, and my foot was stuck. I had to almost like kind of thrust to dig it out. It was really funny, and I felt really stupid. But then God said to me this. He said, the journey gets messy. When you fall, get up, hose yourself off, and get back on the adventure. See, the mud bath is part of the fun. When you fall, when you fail, when you're walking through life, is not about what happened to you. It's about how you respond to it. And I just encourage you to look at each time you fall in the mud as an adventure, as an opportunity to learn. Like I learned, don't step in a big mud pile. Like I was on the edge of something. What can I learn from that? How can I grow from that? How can I inspire others with my own victory of getting out of the mud? The next thing he did with me, this was so fun, adult playland, I'm telling you. We saw these signs that say, quote, not a trail. And I was like pioneers, and and trailblazers and all these things were going off, and I was like, this is so an invitation to go off-roading, isn't it? Okay, so you shouldn't try that at home on a hiking trail, right? But for me, it was such an invitation that just had adventure written all over it. I could hardly contain myself. And the same thing here. When you see something in your life that is like stopping you, that is telling you don't go, you can't do it, you're not good enough, you're not worthy, you should be ashamed of yourself, all those things that are saying not a trail, the first thing you could do is go, oh wow, how can I pioneer a trail? How can I create an opening? How can I rise above that into victory? It was really cool because typically I'll follow signs like that. Like, don't go on a trail that says not a trail, right? But this day I just had this unction to walk right past the signs and just see where it took us. And here's the thing. Sometimes God takes you on a place that doesn't look like a trail to show you a most important and beautiful thing that will get you to the next step of the journey. Come on. Listen, the next thing he said, the next adventure part of that day, this was a glorious day, trust me. Listen to this. Making the conscious decision to take my shoes off and go after the waterfall. So we were like on top of some stairs and looking down, and I could see like where the trail went ahead, but I could hear a waterfall and I could see it a little bit, but my heart for adventure wanted to go after it and get closer. And the only way to it was through a bunch of water. I really couldn't even see a path. I looked down at the rock and I said, why don't we take our shoes off? Why don't we try to get over there? Let's just see what happened. So we did. I hooked up my shoes in the back of my bag and we proceeded forward, and guess what? We made it. We made it to the waterfall and it was beautiful. And I got to just put my head back into the water and just feel the water pouring down on me. It was refreshing and it was beautiful and it was energizing. Listen, a lot of times when walking through life, we cannot see a path. It's up to us to get a peek from up high and allow God to inspire us to take the way he has for us, even if we can't see it. Sometimes when you don't see a path forward, the thing to do is go higher. Look at the overall picture of where you're going, where you're trying to get to. Listen for what God might have in the far distance, like I heard the waterfall. And then maybe sometimes it looks messy where you have to get wet. You have to take your shoes off. Something looks messy, but you have to persevere through it. You have to get through the mud to be able to get towards that reward on the end. And I tell you what, it's worth it. Then, get this. So I'm on the way to the waterfall and there's this itty bitty ledge. It wasn't that far up, but if I dropped off the ledge, I would be fully saturated with water at the end of that. And I was like, oh my goodness. And so I saw a challenge and I'm like, I can cross this ledge and not fall. Mind you, my life wasn't at risk, but there's enough risk that I was like, I don't know if I can do this. The ledge was about as wide as my foot is long. And so I decided to put, both hands on the wall and just kind of scooch and just try to get through that ledge. And it was so cool because I made it. I was with a friend. He didn't make it. But I made it across that ledge and it was so fun. Sometimes you have to see a challenge in front of you and just plain go for it. You may not be confident. You may not know if you're going to quite make it. You may end up getting fully saturated and wet and messy in the middle of it. But sometimes you may try and fail, but the fact is you still tried. So that day I was looking for different ways in God's playland to have some challenges. I hopped across some stones and through the water, risking falling and being wet for the entire day. And there was even one point where I looked up and I saw what I then coined as God's stairs. I saw like this set of tree roots going up one by one by one by one. This seemed to be a stairway. So I was like, let's just go off the trail and climb the stairway. I saw the ledge. It was so cool. I saw some kids go across it, and I felt like a real rock climber. Which anyone who knows me knows I'm not a rock climber. But I felt like a real rock climber. I used my fingers to grab those tiny little spaces and hold myself up as I climbed across. It was exhilarating as I went through. But here's the thing. I had conquered. I had an adventure. And God talked to me through the whole thing. This adventure, this one day of taking a break from work, gave me so much inspiration for my work that was to follow. Listen, this is what you can learn from this. God's heart is that you get to have adventure. And when you take the time to have an adventure, it can inspire your work. It can help you to pour into your work. God has given us the earth as a playland for us to enjoy. That's the original plan. The work and toil was from the fall of man, but listen, we have been restored. He wants us not to worry so much about how far we get, but rather the way we enjoy the journey and the path that we are on. Listen, you're going to fall in the mud sometimes, but we get to choose whether we want to be embarrassed or angry or just laugh, pull ourselves up, clean ourselves off, and keep on trekking. Listen, you may not see the path, only the next step in front of you, but sometimes you have to just take off your shoes, get grounded, and walk forward. The trail will become more clear as you walk it. Sometimes you may see signs that this is not a trail. But one of the coolest things I've ever seen is when we get to make our own trail in life. Listen, take risks. Have adventures with God. He will get you there, and you will be bigger and stronger than you have ever been in your life. Listen, I really hope that me talking about my journey today, my adventure with God, which I have hundreds more to share, will help you. If you are a workaholic, take a day, go have an adventure, because I'm telling you, it is one of the basic needs of life, and it also will create inspiration and energy to drive that very work that you're doing. I hope this inspired you today. I hope this lifted you up today, and I hope you'll take some serious action. Do me a favor. Think of what adventure you're going to take with God next, and comment below and tell me what you got from today's lesson and what your adventure is that you're going to go on. I bless you. You are an amazing group of people, and I just hope that this inspires you to really go after your God-given destiny. Talk to you later.